Welcome to today's video, where we tackle one of the biggest debates in health and nutrition, salt versus sugar. For years, salt has been considered the main villain when it comes to high blood pressure. Doctors and health campaigns have consistently warned us about cutting back on sodium. But in recent years, researchers have started pointing the finger at another culprit, sugar. So, which one really hurts your blood pressure more? Stick with me, because the answer is not as straightforward as you might think. Let's start with salt. Sodium, which is the main component of table salt, plays a crucial role in fluid balance, nerve function, and muscle contractions. However, consuming too much salt causes the body to hold on to water, which increases the volume of blood circulating through your vessels. That extra volume pushes against the walls of your arteries, raising blood pressure. That's why for decades, public health advice has emphasized lowering salt intake, with guidelines recommending no more than about 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day, roughly 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, does that mean salt is always bad? Not exactly. Salt sensitivity varies from person to person. Some people can consume higher amounts of sodium and have very little impact on their blood pressure, while others see their numbers spike dramatically with even small increases. Age, genetics, kidney health, and lifestyle all play a role in how salt affects you. But here's where the story gets interesting. While salt has long been demonized, emerging research suggests that sugar, particularly added sugars, may actually be just as harmful, if not worse, when it comes to high blood pressure. Let's break that down. When you consume too much sugar, especially refined sugar and high fructose corn syrup, it leads to weight gain, insulin resistance, and inflammation in your blood vessels. Over time, this damages the endothelium, the inner lining of your arteries, making them stiffer and less flexible. Stiffer arteries mean higher blood pressure. But that's not all. Studies have shown that diets high in sugar can trigger the kidneys to hold on to sodium, amplifying the effect of salt on blood pressure. So sugar might be a hidden accomplice that makes the damage from salt even worse. Let's consider an example. Imagine drinking a can of soda. That single can might contain over 30 grams of sugar, which is already more than the American Heart Association's daily recommended limit for women and nearly the full limit for men. Consuming that much sugar causes your insulin levels to spike, your liver to work overtime, and your blood vessels to experience stress. If this happens day after day, your risk of developing hypertension increases significantly. Interestingly, in population studies, people who consume a lot of sugary drinks and processed foods often show higher rates of high blood pressure, even if their salt intake isn't sky-high. In fact, a 2014 study in the journal Open Heart argued that sugar may be more strongly associated with hypertension and heart disease than salt. That's a pretty bold statement, given the decades of warnings about sodium. But before we completely switch the blame from salt to sugar, let's be fair. It's not that salt doesn't matter. In people who already have high blood pressure, reducing sodium intake can have a significant effect. Many clinical trials have shown that lowering salt lowers blood pressure, particularly in older adults. However, when researchers look at overall diet, they often find that processed foods, loaded with both salt and sugar, are the real problem. So instead of seeing salt and sugar as separate enemies, maybe we should think of them as a dangerous duo. Let's talk about how this plays out in real life. If you walk through the aisles of a grocery store, almost every packaged food you pick up is likely to have both added sodium and added sugar. Breakfast cereals, breads, sauces, frozen meals, and especially fast food, these are engineered to taste good and keep you coming back for more. They are also engineered to push your blood pressure higher. That means the issue isn't just the salt shaker on your dining table, it's the hidden sodium and sugar lacking in processed foods. Another fascinating angle is how the body responds differently to salt and sugar. With salt, the main effect is water retention and increased blood volume. With sugar, the damage comes through multiple pathways: insulin resistance, inflammation, obesity, and increased stress hormones. That means sugar attacks your blood pressure from several directions at once. So, if we ask the question, salt versus sugar, which one hurts blood pressure more, the honest answer is, it depends. Salt has a more immediate and measurable effect, especially in salt-sensitive individuals. Sugar, on the other hand, works more insidiously, creating long-term damage that not only raises blood pressure but also increases the risk of diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. Many experts now believe that sugar might actually be the bigger culprit overall, particularly in societies where processed food and sugary drinks dominate the diet. Now, what can you do about it? The good news is, you don't have to obsessively track every milligram of sodium or gram of sugar. Instead, focus on eating a whole food-based diet. Fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, nuts, and seeds naturally balance your sodium and potassium levels, helping to keep blood pressure stable. Potassium-rich foods like bananas, sweet potatoes, spinach, and beans are especially powerful because potassium helps counteract sodium's effect in the body. Cutting out sugary drinks is another huge step. Replacing soda and sweetened beverages with water, sparkling water, or unsweetened tea can make a massive difference. Cooking at home more often also helps, because you control how much salt and sugar goes into your meals, instead of relying on food companies that tend to overdo it. Another tip is to read labels. You might be shocked to find that a so-called healthy yogurt has more sugar than a dessert, or that a can of soup contains half your daily sodium allowance. Once you start paying attention, you'll naturally make better choices. And let's not forget lifestyle factors. Regular exercise, stress management, adequate sleep, and avoiding smoking or excessive alcohol all play major roles in keeping blood pressure under control. So while diet is crucial, it's just one piece of the puzzle. To wrap things up, the salt versus sugar debate isn't about choosing one villain over the other. It's about understanding that both can harm your blood pressure, but in different ways. Salt acts quickly by increasing fluid retention and blood volume, while sugar wreaks havoc over time by damaging your metabolism and blood vessels. If you truly want to protect your heart and keep your blood pressure healthy, the smartest approach is to cut back on both, especially the hidden sources in processed foods. So, the next time you think about lowering your salt, don't forget to also look at the sugar in your diet. Your blood pressure, and your entire cardiovascular system, will thank you.